Hey guys, welcome back to the United Star. And today we're here to talk about the Europa League and how United should, take place and participate in it. We have Animesh from Football Fundits and Karan from MUSCM to give us their views on how things are going to be. So I'm going to straight get into it. Animesh, what's your thoughts on United already qualifying for Champions League and now having the Europa League? Do we treat it as preseason?
Honestly, I wouldn't want to. I would not give it as much importance as I did myself, let's say maybe in the start of June. But the side, Manchester United itself probably doesn't need the trophy. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a coach needs the trophy. Yes, United finished fourth in the top four. They technically checkmarked what they thought they would get in the start of the season. But I personally, like I mentioned earlier, want a trophy with it. If not the FA Cup, then the Europa League. Looking at the sides that are left and looking at the form United showed, United are also favourites. I thought Inter Milan would be stark favourites, but not anymore. I think Manchester United should be the favourites. So they should take it a little more seriously and not give it completely to like your Chongs and your Lingards and start them only. I would want them to get more game time for sure in the next two games at least. But beyond that, I would take it more seriously than I myself would have wanted earlier in the season.
So, Karan, as Animesha said that, we should take it seriously. If we take this competition seriously and let's say we reach the final is taking place on the 21st of August. With the new season starting on the 12th of September, do you think that's a decentish gap for the players to, have a rest and then come back for the Premier League, or what's your take on it?
I don't think so, man. We've already seen just how these few weeks post lockdown, how knackered the players got. And it's not like we still have a lot of fixtures to fill in. The Premier League still is starting a month late. So it's not like this second half or this coming season is going to be spread out or back to normal. There are going to be games happening quicker and won't be as bad, but it's going to be pretty bad. It's still going to be pretty bad. So that way, I think there's going to be a problem. There's talk of obviously the teams that make it further in the European competitions will get extra rest. So I hope that comes in. But yeah, again, but even if those 10 more days are accounted for, that gets adjusted along sometime in the season, right? Those 3 matches extra will be played then back to back in double game weeks somewhere down the line. So it's a tricky one there. I am going to say, so Annie just mentioned that, this is big for the manager, but not the squad. I think it's the other way around. I think it's very big for the squad. The only reason being when you've seen it with teams like Tottenham, they have the quality in them. They've shown consistent quality in them over the last few seasons, but they've always faulted at that final hurdle. They've not won that trophy. So, and a lot of people have also come out and said that that's the only reason why Tottenham aren't going to that next level is because that mentality that they don't have that winner's mentality yet. And I want a trophy just so the players get that belief in themselves as a squad. So also the manager is part of that. But I think as a team on the whole, winning that trophy will help the squad mentality saying, hey, you know what, we can win stuff together.
I completely agree with the squad mentality because if we look at this season, we had 2 semi-finals and we lost in both of them. So, getting the mentality back that we can reach the final and win a trophy would be immense for this side. Prasham, coming to you, we've seen the likes of Tieran Mengi, Ethan Laird, Fosu Mensah coming into the squad and training, James Garner. What's your take on bringing these players in and, resting the big players maybe on the bench and bringing them on if the situation calls for it?
Right. So the way I look at it is that you have to give these guys a go for some time, especially because remember there are 5 substitutes. It's not like there are just three of them. So that 5 substitute rule is almost like you said, like a friendly rule where you can change half the squad, and that is enough time to rest players and play players. And the first game again against this LASK, right? Last we've already got a 5-0 lead. So that's basically a write-off. That game you play your youngest squad, let all the big players rest, and they will get that. They will almost have had a rest of about 20 days since they will play their next game since the Premier League got over. Also, the other thing to look at is the competition is spread out over 16 days with us playing possibly after last 4 more games. And that's not a lot of games over 16 days in a competition style format. So if the World Euros were this season, the way I look at it, some of the players would have anyways be involved in that, and they would have got less time. So I don't see why the players should not go for it absolutely. And there is no reason, because 5 substitutes gives us enough time to rest, recuperate, and have a shot at play. So I think the likes of Laird, Fosu-Mensah, Mengi, McTominay, Dan James, Igalo, all these players are good enough for us to be able to progress through rounds, and then we can play a mix of like the likes of Pogba, Bruno in the midfield, in the defense, maybe one of Maguire, Lindelof. So we play a mix of them, and then we start rotating them once we have the lead. Remember, 5 substitutes is a key in this competition, and it's one-off fixtures. This may be the biggest chance for us to win because it's just one fixture. There is no threat of that away goal. We don't need to go to Turkey to play Besiktas. I think that will be a big advantage for a team like United. And finally, just one last point I also wanted to make is that there is no reason why this team should not have the winning mentality. A lot of these players were part of the team that won the Europa League with Mourinho. So they need to show us that they can do it again and again, right? These players, Marcus Rashford, Paul Pogba, all of them played an integral part in that squad. And it's about time they take the ranks and show that they can do it. And they're professional footballers, and they should not feel the fatigue. Think of it as the Euros are on. They would have played, right? Everyone would have played. No one was going to sit out. So I think we must go for the tournament.
I completely agree, Prashant, but you've mentioned certain names out here, and I'm going to leave it open to the panel. I'm going to add the names of, let's say, Lingard, Andres Pereira, Igalo. This is a platform for them to, save their, not Igalo, but for certain players to save their United career. So what's your take on giving these players an opportunity, and how should they react to it?
So I think definitely if I was a Lingard, right, and I personally thought Lingard would be on his way out after the last game against the goal against Leicester. But assuming by his tweet that he might be staying on for another season, this again for him, one last lifeline. I think he gets the most out of most fortunate players in the world. I think he is. He has to prove himself. He has to stand up. If he's getting game time again, I expect a few assists, if not goals. He's not a great goal scorer. It's fine. I want to see him more active, more part of the setup play. Igalo, I don't think has to prove his quality. Igalo was got for a very specific reason to be actually just squad depth, bench strength. For a bench player, if he gets in the 1-2 goals also, let's not forget, guys, there are no 2 fixtures, right? It's 3 more games. It will be quarterfinal, semi-final, final. I don't see that much fatigue coming in. Like Prashant said, 5 game, 5 substitution rule. The players would have been, so assume the season ended normally, they would have had 7 weeks off the Euros. And then if not the Euros, it's 7 weeks off and then preseason tour around the world, right? They can cope with the fatigue. Let's not give them too much of an excuse. I think Manchester United fans personally are taking it because we saw our side crumbling, but worse than any other side. Kern agrees, Prashant agrees, Vishesh, you agree. No other side crumbled and looked so fatigued that this side did. Yes, the starting 11 was consistent. So we agree with, I think, to sum all of this up, yes, it is important for this squad. But this squad, like Lingard, have won the FA Cup before. Martial has won the FA Cup. They won the Europa as well. Pogba came in for the Europa win, right? That time we had Ibrahimovic as well. I think these players have won decent amount of Carling Cup, FA Cup, Europa combo to not have to worry about winning mentality. Why I say that Ole, it's important because now Ole can now be a tactician here, right? Now he can play with a Lingard, Igalo, like you mentioned. He can get Dan James to fire again. Dan James has got a good breather now. He's been playing with a squad who's been ticking to boost him, to give him a mental lift as well. So Dan James, Lingard for me, I would start Rashford. He does not look like a striker that he was last year. I would play Igalo ahead, maybe give Martial a rest for the first game against LASK at least. And then in the back, I would give Tuanzebe and Dalo. But that would be for the first game. Into the second game, what would say was play one of the better center backs, get Martial going. So yeah.
Just coming to just one other thing, that if you want these players to learn and develop as well, I think it's best that they play with a senior partner. And I think that will also lead to a lot more growth than just playing a young side out there and hoping that they get the result. So I can imagine someone like Fosu-Mensah, someone like Mengi growing a lot more if they play alongside Harry Maguire, and he has, for all Harry Maguire's defensive organization and leadership seems to be on point, and they can learn from his experience, which I think is important.
Karan, just coming back to the draw, I mean, it's the first time the full draw has been out and it's up there for us. It looks like United have the easier fixtures in comparison to the likes of Leverkusen and Inter Milan. What's your take on us, and how far do you see us reaching?
I honestly think our semis is pretty tough, man. We could get the likes of Olympiacos, Wolves, Roma, and just because of how the format is this season of just that one game, these teams on their day, on paper, it's honestly, I think it's an equal bet. You know, over two legs, you know, this, that, you figure it out. But I think just with the size of these teams and the mentality these players can come with, and what generally happens when teams are playing United, they summon up something and they come against us as peak Barcelona, peak Real Madrid, playing Champions League finals. You know, everyone just wants to play their best against United, show us what they're made of. So I do think it's a tough picture. It would be interesting to see if we reach the finals playing Inter there. You know, and I hope we'll have our new players. You know, we're discussing about all the current squad and the squad depth and all that. I hope Europa has a chance where we can sign the new players with the likes of Jadon Sancho coming in and getting some playing time with the players as well. So that's what I want to see more. It's a knockout format, man. Anything can happen. We can honestly, there's no way of predicting this.
Annie, what's your take? What's it going to be for the? Are we going to reach the final? What's the situation like?
So, like I said earlier, United before the restart would not have been the favorites. But now, even though they were in good form that time with Bruno, I think now looking at the way things are setting up, if our starting 11 has got rest and they mix it up well, Manchester United should be equal favorites to Inter Milan. Why I say Inter? Because their squad depth is insane. They might not be playing up to their mark as well, but I think in terms of that, they are on top. I would agree with Kern there. United's biggest problem are Wolves. Don't forget, Wolves will want to win the Europa as well. Again, it's just 3 games. They're an excellent defensive unit. They could just shut out teams and play on the counter. I would not want to play in Adama 3 games and, he's just going to be looking for it. And they tend to trouble United in the cups, unfortunately. They did it last year in the FA Cup as well, right? So I'm a little wary, but I think Manchester United should have enough to see them through. The only way I don't see that happening is what I fear the worst is that he would play 6 youngsters and like 4 experienced players. Out of those 4 experienced players, it could still be Lingard, Igalo, maybe Rashford, not Bruno, Pogba, anyone.
Prashant, what's your take before we end this video? How do you see things panning out?
I think that we have a tricky draw. I think Besikshire also aren't to be discounted. Like they are a decent team, and to be honest, once I saw the draw, I went back and saw a couple of their highlights games, and they do play a decent brand of football. So I don't think we should discount them. And Inter, of course, I think Inter probably more favorites than United are because they've got more quality, I believe, in Lautaro Martinez, in the likes of Romelu Lukaku, Eriksen. I think when put together, I think the Inter squad has more quality than us. And I also fear Antonio Conte. I think he's a very shrewd manager, at least, especially when it comes to one-off cup ties. So I think that is also one of the things that we need to consider. But I do think that having said all of that, Manchester United should make it to the finals at least. And from there, then anything goes. On the final day, anything can happen. No one can ever predict what happens. But to give us a fair chance of winning the competition, I think we can make it to the finals because I genuinely believe that we have a better squad than the teams like Roma, Sevilla, and Besiktas, and we should sort of beat them. And I agree with Karn that Wolves are a bigger threat than any of the other teams because they know how to play against us, and that is something that we need to watch out for. And somehow they've been a nemesis. We can't it's very hard for us. This year also we took 2 legs to get past them. So somehow we can't get past them. So I think Wolves are the biggest threat to us, and I hope they get knocked out before
2 seasons. They've been a pain for 2 seasons now.
Exactly. So I hope they get knocked out before we even have to face them.
So that's about it, guys. That's what we think, and that's how we see the Europa League panning out. Thank you, Animesh and Karan, for joining us. Do check out Football Fundits and MUFCM for their great content. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.